Hi, we're going to talk about hexadecimal number in this video. So we know that binary numbers, they are native to computer chips. So it's very nice for the hardware to deal with. However, for us humans, they are quite cumbersome because they are very long, right? Each digit is only 2 values, so that's very inefficient way of encoding information. Now, what about decimal? Well, decimal um, is natural to us humans. However, the number 10 is now a power of 2, and so it's actually in many applications it's not as nice to use a decimal system in our code. So what's a good compromise between the two? Well, so another very commonly used system is to actually group each uh, to group 4 bits into a digit. Now, uh, we know that 4 bits can represent 2 to the 4th power number of values, or 16 different values. So or 9 to. So what are the rules for hex numbers? Well, it's very similar to binary or decimal, except that each of the digits now can be one of the 16 values, and the base is now 16 instead of 2 or 10 or whatever. Again, the same rule for exponent applies here. And let's look at an example of how to, given a hex number, how do we figure out its value in decimal? So the example here is 10AB. So basically we apply the same method that we used before, which is the least significant digit, we multiply it by the base raised to the 0th power, so 16 to the 0th power, and then the digit at position 1, that then is the A. Remember, A is the value 10, and that multiplied by the base 16 raised to the 1st power, and then the next digit 0 multiplied by 16 raised to the 2nd power, and this digit 1 here that multiplied by 16 raised to the 3rd power. Now, if we kind of continue the calculation, 16 to the 0th power is 1, 16 to the 1st power is 16, 16 to the 2nd power is 256, and 16 cubed is 4096. And we multiply all these numbers together and sum them all up, then the final number is 4267, and that is the decimal value of 10AB in hex. And again, to disambiguate between hex number and decimal number and binary numbers, other numbers, we usually prefix hex number with a 0x. So 0x3, 0xe, 0x10, etc. These are numbers in hex. And you can kind of see that you can actually spell some words in the hex numbers as well, because it includes alphabets, English alphabets. So now a few exercises for you that please pause the video and figure out the decimal values for these hex numbers. So assuming you've done that, at least most of it, here are my answers. Please verify them. And as we said, each hex digit is just 4 binary digits, so it's really easy to kind of convert between a hex and binary. So for 10AB, to convert it to binary, basically it's 1, it's 001, 0 is 000, and then A is 10 or 1010, and B is 11 or 1011, and you can see how, if you want to go the other way, it's also fairly straightforward. And finally, a lesson on bit and binary and hex wouldn't be complete without mentioning the word byte. So 1 byte is basically just 8 bits. And so it's also another of those very, very basic unit of computing. 1 byte in the early days of computer programming, it used to represent a character, like a small a, a capital Z, and then there are other control characters such as spaces, carriage return, and things like that. So and then and that kind of most of those characters, they can fit very neatly within a byte, because a byte, 8 bits, that means it can represent 256 different values. And in order to represent characters like alphabets and letters into nowadays, with especially with internationalization, 1 byte is no longer able to represent all the possible characters these other languages use, such as Chinese or Japanese or Korean, which have thousands and thousands of characters. And so that's why the ASCII standard has been kind of superseded by the Unicode standard.